Okay, sorry about the interruption. I was having a storage issue with my iPad. Hopefully, this will work now. Yeah, it seems to be. Yeah, so to pick up, I kept having dreams about cycles on Earth, inevitable cycles that, and even like in the Bible, maybe I said this already, but they predict the end times. And they predict the end times on a 2,000 year cycle relative to the birth of Jesus, right? Because that's how we use the Gregorian calendar, whatever calendar we use now is based on 2,000 years, and so there was some like predictions about maybe the end of the world being around this time. Well, I think those are all symbolic, and then in fact it's the end of a cycle and into the next one, and it relates to the astrology. And I learned something more concrete about astrology that I wanted to share. The astrological signs do work. They do essentially correlate to approximately 2,000 years each. There are 12 signs in the zodiac, and the planet tilts towards one one astrological sign at a time. But what I didn't, and it takes 2,000 years to travel through that sign, and then the next age begins. So people talk about that this is the end of the age of Pisces, and which is ironic because it's the last sign of the zodiac too, and the beginning of the age of Aquarius. Though we don't know exactly what year we're talking about for either the ending or the next beginning, because astrologists measure these things slightly differently. But it doesn't really matter because it's not a hard edge. The ages kind of they blend into each other. There's a crossover period where, as something is crashing down, as it is now, as it feels now, the next one is rising at the same time. That's my perception, and so if you think about what we're seeing, that's actually true because we're starting to see justice kick in after a long period of injustice. The fact that 45 is indicted at all is an upward trajectory. So even though there'll be bumps, it's if we believe that astrology it has a real effect, it's an inevitability that the upward trajectory will continue. There isn't anything anyone can do about it to prevent it, which is a good thing for people who want life to be good. And so it's about 2,000 years per astrological cycle, give or take. I guess it's different for each astrological sign, and that's a part I don't understand. And in total, it takes approximately 26,000 years to get through all 12 signs. And I learned that by watching an astronomy video by, what's his name? He's a popular YouTuber. He has like more than 1 million subscribers. Anton. I can't remember what his channel is called offhand. You might know him, but he does a science video every day, and they're often really interesting. And he was talking about it takes the Earth 26,000 years to work around its own axis. And let me show you what I mean, because I had to kind of copy the drawing. I made a drawing of what they showed in the video, in his video. Okay, so I got to do this in a way I can see it at the same time. All right, oops. So here's Earth, okay? So Earth revolves. Our planet is tilted on an angle, and it revolves around like it revolves around its own axis, the axis going up through the planet. And so in the northern hemisphere, this is why when we pass the summer months, we receive the sunlight more directly. And so that's how we get the season of summer, because of the tilt. And that's why then the southern hemisphere, where Australia is, experiences winter, because the sunlight, as it's coming from from this side, they get less of it over the course of the winter. And then it's contrasted by winter for the northern hemisphere, because when we're on this side of the sun and the sunlight is coming this way at Earth, the southern hemisphere gets the bulk of the sun, and so they experience summer, and we're up here in North America, and we experience winter. So, but anyway, this is the axis. So I think the angle that the Earth is at is maybe, I don't know, somewhere around 20 degrees. Like if it were at 0 degrees, it would be, the axis would actually go straight up through the planet, and then our seasons would be completely different. But since we're at the tilt, we get the seasons that we do. And so, of course, that's called the axis, this line. Okay. And I'm an average. I'm a super simplistic student of astronomy. So what I learned, though, from Anton's video is that the axis points upward to the constellations. So, like, let's say we're passing from Pisces into Aquarius. That this position determines which constellation which astrological sign we're passing into, not constellation. What astrological sign we're passing into. So right now the angle is such that we're entering Aquarius. But there's a weird thing that happens that I didn't fully understand until I watched his video, which is that our planet itself wobbles constantly. And I can't fully tell you the reasons for that because I don't fully understand them. But part of it has to do with the way that the sun exerts gravity on the Earth. And what I mean by wobble is the planet over time actually does this. It wobbles, okay? But what I just did with my fingers, this one wobble as represented by this oval and this oval, they're one and the same. This wobble that causes the axis to travel from here over all the way over to here and back in a circle. This cycle right here, this circle, takes 26,000 years. That's what I was just talking about. So the wobble is so subtle and slow and slight, but perceptible over time, that where we are now, one complete tilting and then return to this position takes 26,000 years. And then, like I said, each astrological era is approximately 2,000 years around this circle. So let's imagine that, let's just say for the sake of argument, this is where we are in the Earth's tilt right now. And this is pointing at Aquarius, okay? Well, it's going to take 2,000 years, or approximately like this position, for the Earth to tilt this much and then point at the next and then enter the next astrological era. You get it? It took me, I haven't grasped this in all of my 50-something years until now. So it's not the Earth's revolution around the sun that determines what astrological period we're in. It's which astrological sign the axis is pointing to. as in pointing north to. So it will take, and so imagine here is the age of Pisces, and dot, 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 dot. It takes 2,000 years to get to here and to enter Aquarius, and then another 2,000 years to enter, actually, whatever the next sign is after Aquarius. So that's why it is a discernible, there are major changes on the planet because the planet is being oriented towards different constellations of stars in the sky every 2,000 years. And apparently, in a somewhat magical and coincidentally mathematical universe, we're affected differently by being in different relationships with the other astronomical bodies around us. I hope that makes sense because I really had to think about it because I didn't get it, and I had to think about how to draw this too. So, yeah, that's how weird it is. So, two, approximately 2,000 years, 2,000 years, 2,000 years, and then you get to 26,000. Now, obviously, 12 times 2,000 is 24,000. So some astrological periods are longer than 2,000 years, and some might even be shorter. They're not exactly all the same. And so once I understood that, then I understood how you could have astrological cycles at all and why it might matter for us to pass from Pisces into Aquarius. All of this to say, all of this to provide encouragement because I also need it. And I needed it last night when I watched Kim's video and I got it. And I needed it last night when I read David Brooks's column and then went to bed and then had this dream about this epic battle, but the inevitable victory of good, because that is just the way the universe is. I've quoted this before too. Martin Luther King Jr. said, what is it? The arc of history, or the arc of the long arc of the arc. Oh shit! The arc of history is long, but it bends. It ultimately bends towards justice. Something like that, and that only makes sense because if we had permanent injustice, the planet would eventually just be destroyed. I mean, and there may well have been other eras where humanity didn't quite make it, but like say supposedly Lemuria and Atlantis being lost civilizations where humanity failed to live up to its ideals. But this too is prophesized as the era in which we get it right, and the fruits of that labor should be felt positively on the whole for another 2,000 years once we get past the crashing end of Pisces and the phoenix-like arise of Aquarius. So when I started to just assemble those thoughts together into one concept in my mind, then I began to feel like, okay, all right. So day to day, you gotta enjoy what you got. I mean, it's ever changing. I'm not the person I was a day ago or a week ago or a month ago or a year ago or 10 years ago, and I won't be the person I am today in 2 years or 5 years or 10 years or however long I might live. And it's just a never-ending process of change and hopefully growth. And I said to my mom the other day when she came over how I believe it was something that Sterling said. Sterling Psychic Medium, said on his channel, or I think it was in his last video from last weekend, that it said that Earth is one of the most in demand schools for learning because it is so challenging. You have such high contrast between the those who do good and have honor and those who, do everything they touches turns to shit. They are embodiments of nihilism, destruction. And then I was reminded of how many good people there are in government. Like every time I hear Jamie Raskin speak, I feel like I'm hearing George Washington. Like his nobility is like so innate, and thank God we have him. And whatever you may think about Nancy Pelosi, maybe she, when she was in leadership, perhaps she has an elevated sense of herself. Who knows? But maybe it's earned because she did everything she could to hold 45 to account. She is honorable. She acts from a belief in the ideals of America, and so does Schiff, I feel strongly, and so does Sheldon Whitehouse, who's been trying to reveal the dark money that is in politics, and especially with the Supreme Court nominees. And there are so many great examples, Stacey Abrams, Katie Porter, of people who really believe in America. They believe in the Constitution. It's in their hearts. It's not just something that they say. Whereas the other side, they wave the flag a lot, but they don't really believe in freedom. And if it were up to them, we would live under their rule. But that's not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. We're going to prevail. And then I was thinking about like all of the really amazing journalists. Now, yes, some of them engage in sensationalism to get us to watch, but like Lawrence Tribe's videos, his coverage is especially valuable. He seems to really believe in the foundational ideas of democracy. And Rachel Maddow, Ari Melber is another one. I like Chris Hayes too. Yes, you don't necessarily want to watch them every day and absorb every single detail of the saga, but can you imagine if we didn't have the level of journalism that we have in this country, or like the New York Times, like all of these sources that unearthed all of the corruption, as painful as it has been to see all of it? You can't fix something that you don't know is wrong. And again, echoing Kim, Carrie, and other psychic readers, this is the time of exposure. Everything's being unearthed. And it's also said that this has to do with the astrology. I believe it's Pluto that is the digger that digs and forces things up from the surface, and then maybe it's Saturn that manifests them into reality, or brings them into the light, or something like that. So it makes it possible to believe in cosmic what's the word I want to use? Machinery. The cosmic machinery is turning always. But as the cosmic machinery keeps churning and the universe itself is built with love from the Creator and imbued with the Creator's love for life and adventure and excitement and joy, then inevitably everything that crashes has to rise. And that's where we're at, I feel. And I think about the Ukraine war all the time, and I pray all the time about it. And I pray about a lot of things and for a lot of individuals. I mean, I don't pray all day, but I always trying to, if somebody I know is having an issue, try to put that out there. Sometimes, even when I'm petting Shay, who's sleeping over here next to me, I just say, this love, let's send this love out to the world. I try to imagine, the world with its protective layer of white light, and adding to that if I can with my thoughts. And that's most of what I wanted to say. So I hope you found that interesting. I'm really still, I'm just loving that I finally understand how this works. So let me know if this helped you understand. Again, to summarize, 26,000 years for that axis tilt to make its way all the way around, and then approximately 2,000 years per astrological era. So let me know if I explained that well enough, because it's the math and the magic at the same time. Again, astronomy and astrology are one, in my opinion. Okay, have a great weekend ahead, and I'll talk to you soon. All right, bye.